Today's recording is in front of a live studio audience. We have a group of people behind us who are giving us tips and tricks and are asking questions. So we have to pause the video every now and then and answer the questions before we move on, because otherwise they just get incessant. But I would like to thank the audience for sitting by and giving us all of those great suggestions. Welcome to Stormin Chocolate. I'm Stormin Norman. This week on Songs I Love is number 3, which is Boston's Foreplay / Long Time, which is the final song on side 1 of the album. Boston's first album is absolutely fantastic. The first side is what I would call perfect, which starts with 3 great songs: More Than a Feeling, which was their first single, Peace of Mind, and then it ends with the suite of Foreplay and Long Time. So we'll also talk about Hitch a Ride, which is on side 2. That's going to be song 14 in this list. So I love long songs. For example, Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven is 8 minutes long. Dogs on Pink Floyd's Animal is 17 minutes long. Sheep on side 2 is 10.5 minutes long. So I like me a long song. I like a song that develops. I like it more on the instrumentals, and we'll talk about that when we get to some of the album sides from Tangerine Dream. But long rock songs are really great. Won't Get Fooled Again, 8.5 minutes long. Absolutely fantastic. You develop a great song. You have a great message to get across. And the package lasts a long time, pun intended. So Foreplay Long Time is 8 minutes long, and that feeds into that whole nicety of long rock songs. So Foreplay is the précis. It's the part that leads into the actual rock and roll song of Long Time. And the real nice thing about Foreplay is that it starts with an organ. I love me a good rock organ. As I mentioned before in previous videos, I'm a big Keith Emerson fan, and he plays a lot of rock and roll organ. Hammond B3 sticks knives in it, so the organ knows who's boss. And I've liked that for a long time. There's some more rock instruments that I like, or instruments that I like in rock, such as rock violin, Kansas I mentioned before. Saxophones are really great. Pink Floyd uses them to great effect. But the way that Foreplay starts is we have this running rhythm played by the organ. And then we've got keys that go down from there, leading up to the 3 guitar hits. And you can hear that here. And then, as you heard, after the 3rd hit, there's a sustain on the guitars that underpin the organ, which comes back up to forefront. So those 3 hits happen about 10 seconds in. Then it goes quiet after there's a lot of noise and crescendos between the organ and the guitars and the drums. It goes quiet at about 150. And you barely hear the organ playing. It's not playing the driving rhythm anymore. It's just, going around in a circle, and when it comes back to the key note, then it just sustains on that note, and then you hear a guitar slowly come up. There's a lot of distortion on the guitar, so you just hear it ramp up, and then finally the drums come in, bump, 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 and then Long Time starts. So it's a great introduction to it. It's great rock and roll from this point forward. It's interesting and creative in the précis that is Foreplay, and then we get into Long Time. I can hear you laughing in the background. So with the start of Long Time by itself, Tom Scholz is playing just this absolutely beautiful lead guitar, and that was kind of Boston's signature sound at the time, was what Tom was doing with his guitars and his effects. And just like Queen has a very signature sound with Brian May's guitars and his effects, Boston absolutely has a great set of effects and a Boston signature guitar sound. and that's what Tom is actually playing. So you hear this kind of guitar solo at the beginning before the first set of lyrics come in, and this is where we hear the first stanza here.
It's been such a long time. I think I should be going. Yeah. The time doesn't wait for me. It keeps on rolling.
So what we just heard in the first two lines is that most of the instruments has gone away. It's very, very quiet, and that's part of the nice thing about this song is there's lots of dynamics, lots of things that go away, it becomes quiet. We'll talk about that after the chorus, and sometimes things are very, very loud. So it's great that it goes back and forth between the two. So in this quiet part, in the first two lines, you just hear the organ, the drums, and the bass keeping time. And then after that, after the second line, the guitar swoops in and we hear it, jangle away at this time. And then in the second line, and then the third line, it kind of just sustains the way through the words. But it's great that that comes in because it just helps to reinforce the message in the song. So then right after the end of the stanza, after the fifth line, we go into the chorus, and right away, everything goes away, and all you have for instruments are hand claps and an acoustic guitar, and that's part of the dynamics that we hear in the song. And this is going to become very important because it's part of one of the major things that I love about this song. So the chorus goes on, then it ends with a pregnant pause, everything kind of goes away, and then all the instruments come back on. We've got kind of a mini solo before the second stanza starts. So here's what the chorus sounds like.
Well, I'm taking my time, just moving on. You'll forget about me after I've been gone.
And then at the end of the chorus, there's a pregnant pause as everything goes away, as I mentioned a moment ago. And then when the instruments come back, we get two lines or one line repeated twice, where it says, it's been such a long time. It's been such a long time in order to enforce the message. Then before the second stanza, we get Tom on another lead guitar. It's kind of a guitar solo. It's kind of not a guitar solo. It's kind of like a pause before we get to the second stanza. The song has an A-B-A-B-A structure where we have the stanza, chorus, and then another stanza. The last stanza is kind of different from the other ones. The first half of that third stanza is exactly the same as the first half of the first one, and then the second half is brand new lyrics. But at the end of the stanzas, at the end of each stanza, there's something that they do with the lyrics that I really like, where at the end of the first stanza, Brad sings, "I've got to be on my way, wish there was something I could say." At the end of the second stanza, he sings, "And leave it all behind me, you're coming back to find me." Those second phrases are kind of like afterthoughts, but they rhyme with that first phrase in each of them. And then in the third stanza, he says, "Though I may never find it, I'm always just behind it." So it's an interesting addition that he has to each of the phrases that are in there, and kind of underpins the entire message of the song, which at the end of the day is a guy talking about, I got to be moving on. I've got to be me. I've got to go out, but I'm still going to be thinking about you, at least for a while, but this is the way that I am, and I'm going to be moving on. So after the third stanza, where we would normally get that quiet period where we have hand claps and acoustic guitar like we did after the first stanza before the first chorus, after the second stanza before the second chorus, you don't get that. You do get the hand claps, but you get a powerful guitar. You get just screaming guitars coming in here before we go into the end modified chorus. And then it just says, it's been such a long time, got to be moving on. And it just goes on until the song actually fades out. So that's one of the things I really love about the song, is that change in not necessarily the structure, but the instrumentation. So it's quiet, acoustic guitar and hand claps, acoustic guitar and hand claps, and power guitar that comes in. So I really love that about this song. So there's a great cover for this song performed by the Lexington Lab Band. I found this on YouTube, kind of by accident, I was going along and listening to watching other music videos, and I found the Kate Bush "Love and Anger" music video, which we talked about last time. I found this one by Boston, and a couple of them by Boston. They almost did the entire album on there, and they did it very, very well, and they had a great group of people doing it. In the Lexington Lab video, they have 3 guitarists, bass, drums, and of course, that organ, and 3 background vocalists and 1 lead vocalist. The video sounds really, really good, which is probably why it was my go-to YouTube video for a year. After a while, I started concentrating on one of the background singers at each viewing. Amanda Carter today, Caitlin Postel tomorrow, and Jessica McKinney yesterday. I tried to pick out each of their individual vocal characteristics when they sang together. Sometimes Jessica will sing duet with the lead, Michael Vandermark, so it doesn't count. And try to figure out who each of them is looking at on the other side of the circle, or V. I'm not really sure how the instruments are arranged in the room or the people are arranged, but I know that they can easily see across to them. You can see that in some of the shots if you watch the video, which I recommend. I do the same thing with the 3 electric guitarists, Dale Adams, James Cornette, and Tom Lazega, because they each have different personalities. And lest I leave anyone out, Ryan McQuarrie plays drums, Randy Ruffalo bass, and the awesome organmeister is Austin Vitucci. Note that Michael also plays the acoustic guitar. Among the guitarists, James Cornette is always serious, and Tom Lazega is always smiling, like the experience is an exalting one, and he's really glad to be there. Dale is somewhere in the middle, although you can watch him direct in some cases, giving clues, for example, upon the transition during the guitar solo before the 3rd stanza, and nodding at the end of the outro, which does not fade out like the album cut. So when he does the nod, he says, okay, this is the last repetition of, taking my time, and we're going to, end it on this, which is a great way to end the song. But I may be reading more into it than, is actually there, but it's my game, and those are the rules that I play by. The link is in the description, plus the documentary on the making of the band, which takes you backstage. It shows you recording the videos. And one of the things I learned there, and it should be obvious, is they actually do 2 takes, where the first one is kind of an in-your-face, where they get really close to the instruments, and they get really close to the singers. And the second take is when they back off and they give you, large images of the entire group, the 3 guitarists playing together rather than one by themselves, and they have the 3 singers or the 4 singers. And so they do it twice. And one thing as I said, I like to watch the detail of the video going on. One thing I've tried to figure out is if they're doing multiple takes, if they're doing at least 2 takes, it's quite possible that the audio from one take is being played back during the video of another one. I get some little inkling that might be the case, but you have to watch it a lot, like I have, or you have to imagine that's what's going on. But it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, it's a game that I play when I watch this particular video again and again.
Take it or you leave it.
So that's Foreplay and Long Time, and the best cover that I've seen. All of the links are in the description. Next time we will do this, not next time, but further down the line, we will do this again with Hitch a Ride with Boston single and the Lexington Lab Band cover of it, which again is a very, very good cover. Next time for us, we'll see you for Konzon with by Tangerine. We'll see you next time for Corazon by Tangerine Dream from the album Exit. Bye-bye.
The studio audience.
Cut.